One and all, I, Professor Vibhuti Patel, heartily welcome our today's expert, Ms. Riya Dalal, and Dean Dr. Priya Swaminarayan ma'am, Head of the Department, Professor Hina Choksi ma'am, and entire FRTCA staff, and my dear audience who are present for the webinar. Today we have a very talented and experienced speaker, Ms. Riya Dalal. She is going to take the webinar on Introduction to CSS Flexbox. She has 3+ years of experience in teaching, and currently she is instructor at ABM College, Calgary, Alberta. She teaches C, C++, Java, C Sharp, and various web technologies like HTML, PHP, and .NET. She completed her ME in Computer Science from LD College of Engineering, Ahmedabad, and completed BE in Computer Science from VIT Baroda. He published research and survey paper in international journal utilizing data analysis and research skills. I would like to request Ms. Riya Dalal to take over the session. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Vibhuti madam, for such a nice introduction, and thank you for inviting me for this webinar. And without wasting time, I will start with the topic. So today's topic is Introduction to CSS Flexbox, and today we are going to learn how Flexbox works and how we can use to create different layouts in CSS. So let's start with the Flexbox. What is Flexbox? It's a flexible box in which we can contain different items. As shown in the image on the right, you can see there is a container and different items in that container. So it usually referred to as Flexbox and designed as a one-dimensional layout model, and it could offer space distribution between items and interface, and it has powerful alignment capabilities. The same thing you can do with the float property of float property. If you want to create a 3-column layout or 4-column layout without using Flexbox, then generally we use float property to display things in the web page. But with the help of Flexbox, it is very easy to create this type of layouts. So there are two main components in Flexbox. One is Flex container, the one which you can see in the light blue box, and other is Flex items, which is the pink items in the box. Let's see some of the properties of Flex container. So these are the properties which we can apply to the Flex container. So first property, that is display. So you might have already known that display property, what it can do. Display property have different values, like you can display any element in the HTML inline or a block inline or a border box. So same, if you can give display property as flex, then that element can be converted into flex box. So that display property is necessary to convert any element into flex box. So we'll use this display property to use that flex. And for containers, the other property is flex direction. So using flex direction, we can decide the direction of all the all the items in the container. We'll see that by one graphic here. This is the flex direction property. It decides the uh, direction of the items in the container. It has value. It can have values as row reverse, column, and column reverse. You can see in this example, if the value of flex direction is row, then imagine you have 3 items A, B, and C in the container. So the alignment of that item will be like this. And if it is row reverse, then the last item will display first, then the second item, and the first item, like this. If the direction property is column, then you can see the vertical alignment of all the items in the flex box. And if it is column reverse, then it is bottom to top, like the last item will display first, then the others. Next property is flex wrap. We'll see all these properties by examples, but this is just the introduction of all the properties for flex container and flex item. So flex wrap will decide whether to wrap the items in the container or not. So it has three values: no wrap, and wrap reverse. By default, it is no wrap, and if you want the items to be wrapped in the container, then we can use wrap property like this. So if it is wrapped, then based on the browser window, that will be the items will be wrapped into the second row, and it depends on the browser window size, depends on the width of the browser window. And if it is no wrap, then items will display in a single row, and row wrap reverse means item will start from the bottom, like last item will display first and then the rest. Next property is justify content. So this property will align or justify all the items in the container horizontally. You can see it has this possible values: flex start, flex end, center, space between, and space around. And these are the examples of all the properties how it should display. So for if the justify content property have flex start value, then in the container the items will display like this. It will start from the left hand side of the container. If it is flex end, then it aligns to the right hand side of the container. Center means display in the center of the container. Space between, it will leave some margin between all the items. And space around means it will leave margin on both the sides, left and right hand side of the items, like this. Next property is align items, and it has similar values as justify content. Like you can see here, flex start, flex end, and center. These three values are common as justify content, but instead of justifying content in horizontally, uh, align item property will align the items vertically in the flex container. You can see here, flex start will align all the items at the start of the container vertically. You can see those items are aligned from the start. And for flex end, these items are aligned at the bottom of the container. Then for center, all the items are aligned in the center vertically. Then stretch property and baseline is different. So if you give stretch value to the align item property, then item will adjust based on the size of the container. So it will stretch based on the size of the container you provided. And the next value is baseline. So in case of baseline property, items will preserve its own dimension, but it it will align in the center line horizontally, and item will not take all the items will not take similar height and width, but it depends on the content in the items. And you will understand this when we'll see the example of this align items property. Next property for container is align content, which is very similar to align item. It has flex start, flex end, center, stretch, and space between and space around. Uh, this uh, this property align content is very similar to align item. You can see in the example. And this property is applied only when the item exceeds the width of the container. So generally we don't use this align content property frequently. We'll use when the item's width is larger than the container's width. So the same result, flex start align at the start, flex end align from the bottom, center vertically centered, stretch will items will stretched based on the size of the container, then space between it leaves some margin between items, and space around leaves some margin around all the items. Now these are the properties for flex items. Until now we have seen the properties for container. Now these are the properties for flex items. First property is align self property. It specifies the alignment for flex item in the container. So it can also have this flex start, flex and center, stretch and baseline value, which is same as align item property of the container. But if you are giving align self property, then the that effect is applied individually on each item inside the container, and that is overridden by the align self property. If you have both the properties align item and align self, then align self will be given more priority. So this will be applied first and then align item. So as you can see, flex start will align items vertically from the start of the container, center for center, and flex end uh, align the items from the bottom of the container. And this align self property will align item vertically, not horizontally. Align justify property will only uh, align items horizontally. Next property is flex grow. So flex grow property is only specified as a single number or decimal number. Negative numbers is invalid. You can see here, if you want some items to grow as many times as some other items, then you can use this flex grow property. That is, see, uh, for these are there are 4 items displayed over here in the container, but last two items have uh, occupied space 2.5 times the other items. So these items are first two items are taking uh, let's say if we divide it into percentage, then if they are taking 10% of the container width, then these last two items are taking 25% of the 25 2.5 times 10 uh, space in the container. Next is flex shrink property. So it is only specified as a single number or decimal, just like flex grow, and negative numbers invalid, and it works only when the width of the item is wider than the container. So width of the item is wider, then we can use flex shrink. But in case of flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis, uh, these three properties are combined into one property that is called flex. You can see here in the introduction of all the properties, we have one dedicated flex property. That means it's a shorthand property for flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis. So if you don't want to use these three properties individually, then by using this flex property, we can assign values to all these three properties. And the last property is the order property, which specify the order of the flex items inside the same container. We'll see this by different examples. So let me open the example. First example, uh, first we'll see the column layout. Initially, we'll start with this layout, and we'll convert this into this layout. So I have all the uh, like all the divs like this. This is a main column which I want to display in the middle of both the column. This is sidebar 1 and this is sidebar 2. So using this flex box and the properties of flex box will convert this layout into this layout, like main column in the middle, sidebar 1 on left hand side and sidebar 2 on the right hand side. So let's see the HTML code uh, for all this column layout. Here is the HTML code for the column layout. You can see here the outer container is div, which has class column layout. Then inside the outer div, this is the outer div. The one in the white background is the outer div. Then inside that, I have three more divs. This one, which is main column, the second one sidebar 1, and the third one sidebar 2. So right now the output is like this, and let's see the CSS for this one. Okay, this is the column layout. This is the CSS for the column layout. I have already given the styles to the outer div, that is column layout. The max width 1300 pixel, background color is white, margin top is 40 pixel, and left and right is auto. That means it will display in the center of the browser window, and line height is 1.65 em, so line around 1.5, and padding for the content of the div is 20 pixel and 50 pixel. 20 pixel for top and bottom, 50 pixels for left and right. Now to convert this layout into three column layout, we need to convert this we need to give the display property for the container. So let me write display property and give the value flex, and if I save this uh, and let's see the output. See now the layout is converted into three columns, and you can see this main column is taking up more space than sidebar 1 and sidebar 2. That is because that is because the content in the main column is more than these two columns, so it automatically takes more space than the other two. So if you want to give like equal space, if you want to distribute equal space to all the divs, like all the columns, then we can use flex property for each item. Like flex property is the combination of flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis. So if I give flex as 1, and we can give it in the number. So if we give it 1 for all the divs, right now all the divs are having flex 1 property, so the space is divided equally amongst all the column. So let's see the output. Now no matter how much content is there in any div, the space is divided equally among all the all the columns. So our single column layout is converted into three column layouts, and right now all the columns are having similar space. So if you want to display this main column will, if you want to display the main column in uh, like if you want the main column to take up more space than sidebar 1 and sidebar 2, let's say 2 times wider than sidebar 1 and sidebar 2, then we can change the main column flex property to 2, and it will take twice space than the other two, like this. And if you want that main column to take up thrice the space than other two, then we can take flex property as 3, and it will take 3 times space than sidebar 1 and sidebar 2. Now our output was like this. The main column was in the middle and two sidebars on the sides. Uh, like some The easiest way we can do it with to change the easiest way is to like what we can do. If we want to perform without flex, we can just modify the HTML file, like shift this main column between the sidebar 1 and sidebar 2. But because of SEO, software engine optimization, if we want to put the main column on the top, then we can use the order property of the flex item to display all the columns in the order. So we want main column in the second order, then we can give 2. Then for sidebar 1, we want it to display first, then we can give it order 1. And for sidebar 2, we can give the order 3 to display the sidebar 2 at the last. So let me refresh this, and now our layout is converted into 3-column layout with the main column in the middle, and it is taking up 3 times space, 3 times more space than other 2 columns. Now we'll see another example. We'll take another example by using different layout. But what if you want to give margin in between these columns? So for that, I will open one other example, that is this example, and we'll work on the initial file, this one. So right now I have these 3 boxes, and we'll convert these 3 boxes into 3-column layout with the margin between all the boxes. So you can do this with the help of float left property or float right property, but here we'll see with the help of flex. And here is the HTML for box layout. It's a very simple layout. It has a container div, and it has class article container. Then inside the container div, it has different 3 articles, and all articles have like all the divs have class name article, like this. And let's see the CSS for this one. Okay, so here is the CSS for box layout. Initial CSS contains CSS for article container. The max width is given, then margin top 40 pixel, left and right auto. So it is in the center. Then for all the article tag, padding, box sizing, and margin bottom is given. That is, padding can leave space around the content. Then box sizing is a border box, and margin bottom 20 pixel. It will leave this 20 pixel from bottom. And this article and child 1, 2, and 3 just these are used to give background color to different divs. So article 1, article 2, and article 3, that is article 1 is having light pink color, then this is light golden and light sea green. So we have pink, yellow, and green, 3 boxes, and we'll use flex to convert this layout into this layout. Our final product is this. So to convert this into Flexbox, we need to give flex property for the container. So flex, let me give display property as flex to convert it into Flexbox. And after giving this, let's see the output. You can see that single column layout is converted into this 3 column layout, but right now the space taken by all the boxes are different because it depends on the content in the div. So to give equal size, we can give all the article as flex property to 1, and see all the articles are having same space in the browser window. Now what if you want to have uh, the size of the article as same as the content in the article? Right now like all the articles are taking same height to match each other, but what if you want all the articles with different height? So what we can do is we can use align items property to flex start, and let me refresh this. Okay, for that we need to give flex basis, and flex basis to 30%. That means it will take 30% of the browser window. Each article will take 30% of the browser window. And let me change this. Okay, if we see the final product, there is some space between this all the article. So to give the space between all the article, we can assign margin right to all the articles like this, margin right, but let's say 40 pixel for each. But in that case, there is some space left at the right hand side of this green article, but here we don't have any space at the end of this article. So for that we can use justify content, and the value will be stretch, not stretch but space between, to leave space between all the item. Let me save this, and yeah, right now you can see. Okay, that is now closed. Let me open it again. Okay, what happened? Okay, article container is having max width, then margin display. Okay, we need align item property for this one, that is space between align item as, let me remove this justify content from here because it's a property of container, and align item as flex start. We save this. Yeah, so if we want all the article to take space based on that content inside those div, then we can use align item property with the flex start. And if you want to arrange all the items from the bottom of this flex container, then we can use flex and property. And let's see the output. Now it will be aligned from the bottom of the flex container, and to align those from the center, we can give it center like this. Now all the items are aligned in the center. And if you don't give this align item property, then the default value for this is stretch, and it looks like this. All the articles will take up same space as other articles. Okay. And now to add margin between those articles, we'll use align justify content as space between, to leave space between all the article. Oh, this is not the one. Let me open it from here. Okay. Margin bottom. Give me a minute. Justify, using justify content, we can, oh, I haven't saved it. Okay. Max width is 40 margin, then display flex, justify content space between. Okay, we need to remove this flex property, flex to 1. Okay, so if you want to leave margin between all the items, then we can use justify content, and the value for justify content should be space between. And we can try using different values for justify content as let's see it with the flex start. So if I use this flex start, then it will be aligned like this. It will start from the left hand side, and flex and will align all the item from the right hand side, and center will be keep all the items in the center without any margin, and space between will leave some space around all the items. And now let's see another example of this form. So I have one simple form over here in the div class container, and it has another two div with the label and the input type. So that is first one is for the name and the second one is for the uh, favorite topic. So the form looks like this right now, but in some cases it becomes tricky when we are working with the forms. So this input field is taking this many space, but what if we want to stretch this input field to fill the rest of the space in the container, just like this one. We open that. So if you want to convert the input fields into this type of form, then the simplest way you can think of is you can increase the width of this input field, but that will not work in case of the second input field, because label for the first input field is taking less space than the second input field. So there are different alignment of the labels and for the input field. So if you fix the width of this input field, then it will not work for all the elements in the form. So what we can do is we can convert this container into Flexbox by giving the display flex property, and then we can use flex property for this input label and give them value 1. So let me open the form layout. Here is the CSS for form. This is general CSS for the container, max width, margin, padding, and BG color, background color, which is same for all the example. So to convert this container into flex, just give display property as flex. And now this form form row label and form row input field, we need to give flex property to input field as 1. So let's see the output, what happens if I give this as 1. This is our form, and let me run this. Save this. Okay, flex basis. Padding, yeah. Okay, we don't need to convert this into flex because you can see here all the form elements are inside this div with the form row class. So we can convert this form row class into Flexbox. So display is flex. Save this, and flex property for all the input field as 1. Now you can see all the input fields are taking uh, all the spaces, all the remaining space from the container. So if I also give this label as flex property to 1, then the horizontal space is divided equally for all the labels and input field like this. But I don't want to display the form like this. There is so many space between input field and the label. So if you remove this from the label, then it will considered as 0. That means all the remaining space can be taken up by this input field. So in this case, we just have to give flex property to only input elements, not label and input. Let's see another example. So one more example for content in the center. Let me open this. So the same layout, the container size is same as other containers. The white one is container and this one is button. And I want to move this button into the center of this container. So sometimes we struggle with the CSS properties to display some element in the center of the container. Like you can use relative uh, relative property, like the relative value for display property, but with relative you have to use top, left, right and bottom as 50% or some. We need to set uh, like we can easily align this button in the center horizontally, but it's difficult to align the element vertically. So this will become easy with the help of Flexbox. So what we can do is, for this center content, the HTML file has one box and the button inside the box. And let's see the CSS for that. So CSS for the center content is this one. Center content example. Initial CSS for the box and center me. So to display it in the center, we can give display property as flex and just give margin as auto. So it will automatically adjust this item in the center of the flex box like this. Let's see, next example is the nested flex. This one is trickier than others. Let me open this. This is my initial file which I will be working on, and we will convert this into this one. You can see here uh, there are 3 divs with pink, yellow and green background, and there are different size of content in all the divs, and our final product is like this. It basically has 2-column layout, and one column is taking up by pink box and other 2 columns are equally like other the other column is equally divided between 2 boxes, yellow and green, and those 2 boxes are displayed in 2 rows but single column. So let's see the HTML for this file. The outer div has class equal height container, and the outer div is this div. You can see here the div um, starting from that div contains all 3 boxes, starting from here and ending at here. And that div has other 3 divs with the class first, second, sorry, that div has another 2 div with the class first and the second. So we can say that in this example, this pink box is in one div and other 2 boxes, yellow and green, are in another div. So there are 2 divs, two outer divs, and this outer div is contain other two divs, which is second A and second B. So this is our first column, the first column with the first div, and the second column with the second div, this one. And in the second div, we need to arrange these two divs in two rows. So first we'll convert the whole container, like the whole div, that is this equal height container, into flexbox. That will arrange all the divs in the column. So this outer container has two divs, this first and second. So we'll have two columns after converting this equal height container into flexbox. So let's see the CSS for that one. So here is the initial CSS, just the background color and margin and padding. So when we convert this outer div into flexbox, display flex, and let's see the output. See, that is converted into two column layout. This pink one is having more content and it is taking more space, and this other div, which has inner two divs, which is taking less space because it has less content. Now we are near to this layout, but we have this fixed, but we need to arrange this div, these two divs like this. But before arranging that, you can see here uh, the width of these both columns are same. The pink div and this other column with the yellow and green div. So to do that, we have to give flex property to the first and the second one. This first and the second one. So let me give that flex property to 1 for both the divs. That will convert our layout into equal size column. And let's see the output. Okay, now we have equal size column like this, and it is similar to this one. Now we'll work on this part of container. So you can see from the final product, we want the yellow div to take up all the space and like equal space as green. And right now they are taking same space as the single div. So for that, you can see here for second A and second B, the second div is the container. So we can convert this div in the flexbox by giving display flex property here. So display flex and save this. So you can see that like all the divs are arranged in the flexbox, but they are arranged in row, the first item and the second item in different rows. But we want these items into single column like this. These two divs are arranged in this way. So we need to convert this layout into column layout by using flex direction property. So the default direction is the row, this one. If I keep this, then nothing will change in this. But if I change this to row reverse, let's see the output. Then green div will display first and then yellow div like this. But we also don't want this. We want this to convert it into column layout. So we can give it as column and save it. So you can see that flex layout is converted into column 1 for the half of the container. Now there is some space left at the bottom of this container. So we want this space to be taken by green and yellow div equally. So to divide the space between these two elements equally, we can assign flex property as 1 for both the divs. So finally, our layout is converted into this layout with the two columns. First column is having single div and the second column with other two divs. So this is how you can use Flexbox to arrange your items in the web page. So these are very simple examples of Flexbox. You can use this in the real world, like for the form you can use Flexbox to uh, arrange form elements arrange form elements in the container. Then you can use Flex to create 3-column layout or 4-column layout like this. And one more application we can see is the gallery, like here. Let me open this. So okay, and this is unsolved. So yeah, this is one more application. I have added 8 images into this web page, but right now you can see the HTML for this. The class outer class is gallery container, that is G container, and it has these 8 divs which contain 8 images. And the CSS for this gallery is here. I have set height and width, fixed height and fixed width for all the images. Height as 200 pixel and width as 250 pixel. So you can see here, and by default for all the divs the display is block, so you can see all the images in different rows. But if you convert this layout into Flex, then all the images will be displayed in the single row like this. Display and Flex, like this. Now all the images are displayed in the single row by converting into Flexbox. But in this case, I need to scroll in the browser window to see all the images, and all the images are like taking their space in the same row. But what if I have a smaller browser window, or if I what if I change the browser window size, and still I can see all the images? So to do that, we have one property for the Flex container is called Flex wrap. And if you want that items to be wrapped in different rows, then we can use this Flex wrap property, and all the items will be arranged in different rows based on the browser window. So if I decrease the browser window, then based on the window size, all the items are arranged. So this is the application of Flex wrap property. And one more property is left, that is Flex flow, this property. So for to explain this flex flow property, I need to take a flex direction property over here, and let's say row. So right now I have flex direction as row. So you can see here, if I remove this, then the layout will be converted into this one. And if let's check, the first image is this and the last image is this one. So if I convert this into row reverse, then this image will be displayed first and then all the other images. So, like this. And we can also check other flex direction values. So flex direction property have value row reverse, column, and column reverse. So column is default like this, and column reverse where the last image will display first. So let's check that also. And yeah, the output looks like this, the last image first. And we have seen these two properties, which is flex flow. You can see here from the list of the properties here, flex direction and flex wrap. So to specify the direction of the items, we can use flex direction, and flex wrap uh, to wrap the items in different row. And this flex flow property is the shorthand property for flex direction and flex wrap. So how we can use this flex flow property, I can show you that here. So if I use flex flow, then I need to give the value for flex direction first, like this, then space, and the value for flex wrap property. Let's take it wrap. And our layout will be converted into this layout with the flex direction row and flex flow as a wrap. Still, it will adjust all the items in the container based on the window size. Okay, this is all about today's session, and you can ask questions if you have any, and maybe Vibhuti madam can read out the question loudly, and I can try to answer the question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I'm having some questions that our student have asked, and I would like to get answer from you. So, ma'am, shall I ask a question? Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. So the first question, that using a flex box, how can we make the flex items wrap to multiple lines when they don't have enough space?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am. Using flex box, how can we make the flex items wrap to multiple lines when they don't have enough space?
Yeah, so for that, you can use flex shrink or flex grow property for flex items.
Okay. Now, the next question is it possible for flex items to align tightly to the items above them?
Uh, can you rephrase the question, please?
Is it possible for flex items to align tightly to the items above them?
Yeah, we can always do that. If we don't give the margin, then all the items will be aligned tightly with the items above them.
Okay.
Or and another possibility is we can use stretch property for justify content to stretch all the items to fit into the container with the flex direction and flex flow property as wrap.
Next question is, what is a cross axis in Flexbox?
Okay, so I can explain you the cross axis and main axis. Let me share my screen. Okay, entire screen, and yeah. So the cross axis. Let me open this container. So you can see here the container and with the items. So main axis is the horizontal axis, or we can say x-axis. You can compare it with the x-axis, that is called main axis, and cross-axis is the vertical x. You can compare it with the y-axis. So those are the cross and main axis.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, one more question is that, what is a flex item and what is its job?
What is the flex item, right?
Yes, and what is its job?
Okay. So sometimes to create a multi-column layout for our web page, we need to place different items or different sections into some container. So you can take any element, any HTML element as a container, like section or article from HTML5, or from the HTML you can take div as a container, and inside one div you can have many divs that you can place in the different columns. So you can have section inside the section, or articles inside article, or section inside article, or different divs inside different one div. So one outer div will become a container, and all the other divs or articles which are there inside that container will become items. And using those properties of Flexbox, for container and items, we can like arrange those items whatever way we want.
Okay, ma'am. There is actually two more questions I received from the student. One is that, what is a flex wrap allow you to do?
Yeah, I just explained the flex wrap property in my gallery example.
Yes.
uh, so like here, let me show that again. So here, in the gallery, like I have these 8 images, and if I don't have this flex flow, let me save this and check the output. Oh, where is it? Yeah, this is this one. Okay. So when we give only display equals flex to any container, then the item will be arranged in the single row, and you can see there are 8 images in the single row. But if you want to adjust all the items, like if you want to contain all the items in the single window, then we can give flex wrap as wrap, and then that layout will be converted into multi-row layout, and other items will be wrapped around different rows.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for delivering such an informative webinar to our audience. And I want to thank you, Priya ma'am and Hina ma'am, for the support and guidance for conducting the webinar.
Thank you very much for inviting me as a speaker, and thank you, Priya madam, and the uh, all the staff, all the team involved in this webinar. And for those who are watching this live, thank you all for attending this session. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, to the audience, I'm sharing the screen here for the feedback link, and I request all of you to please give a feedback for the webinar. So I'm sharing my screen here. Ma'am, can you
Okay,
please
I
show
need to.
this?
Oh,
Yes, ma'am. So all of you, you can please note down the link and then you can give the feedback.
Hello.
Yes, okay. Sir, can we end it here? Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, ma'am. You are audible. Hello, sir. Ma'am, just wait for a minute.
No problem. Uh, Hello, Vibhuti ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, and I have one question. So, should I send all the examples which I have used, or is it okay to send only PPT?
Ma'am, you can send me through mail the examples.
Okay, no problem.
So if some students require, then I send it.
I will send it to you one email after the session.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
So, should I?
Yes, yes,
Uh,
ma'am. We can leave now.
okay, thank you
Okay,
so
welcome,
much for
ma'am.
inviting. I hope it will be helpful. And yeah, bye. Have a great day.